Hi, welcome back. Do you like my hat? Today's knitting pun. There's no point in arguing with a needle. They always have a great point. Enjoy the show.
Hi everybody, welcome to my knitting channel. Today is episode 116. That's a lot. Today I am wearing my bifocals because I'm old and I've had these for months. I think I got them like around Thanksgiving. But I haven't been able to wear them because that demarcation line, like I trip while I'm walking. But since my surgery, when I'm sitting, Tormund in the box again, when I'm sitting down to work and I'm not moving, it's been helpful to be able to work. Torm? Do you want to just lay down? What are you doing? Since I've been sitting down, it's been easy to not have any, because I have really bad motion sickness. The slightest things will set me off. Like I have to be. Sometimes even my my chair. If I'm reclined in the chair, it's enough to not make me feel stable enough, and it'll do whatever it does to my ears. And so since my surgery and I've been able to sit down, it's really helped me be able to like watch TV and look at what I'm doing. So, and then last night I realized I couldn't see the line anymore because like my brain, I guess, adjusted to it, which took months. And my single vision, I can't see anymore. I can only see far away. So if it's up close, I have to take my glasses off and then I have to push it up into my eyeball to see it because I'm very, very nearsighted. So I'm actually excited that I can wear these. And they're the same frames, but they're red, so you probably can't tell. And that I just did because I really like the frames. The black ones are the ones I've been wearing for years. I really, really like them. They fit my face well, and the important thing for me is when I look down, they don't slide off my face. Which if you've worn glasses for any period of time, you know, the second you look down, they're sliding off your face, and these fit my face perfectly. I wish they were a little bit bigger because I like a fuller frame. They are pretty big, so I can't complain. But I do this thing where I go around my peripheral, and I would just like them. Like my sunglasses are huge. I always wear the big giant sunglasses, and when I wore contacts, I would like get the biggest pair of sunglasses I could find, and that's what I wore. Because that's just what I like. Anyway, so if anything looks weird, I'm not sure if these are going to work for the show or not, if you can even tell that I'm wearing my bifocals. That is the mail carrier. He's supposed to be there. Speaking of the mail carrier, I don't know why he's going by that house because the most wonderful thing happened on Sunday. Let me show it to you. Do you see that? That is a U-Haul at my favorite neighbor's house. Right there. Right there. Right there. Oh, it was right there. You guys are gone. They're gone. It's Wednesday. They've been gone since Sunday. Like, I woke up that morning. And saw the U-Haul, and I was like, are all of my dreams coming true right now? We weren't sure what was going on because we were pretty sure that they rented to own this house. Like, it was sold when they moved in, and then a few years after that, this house used to be green. They painted it gray, and I was like, oh, they must have like made the last payment, and now it's theirs, and they're painting it. No, they're gone. So I haven't seen anybody there. I don't know who the real owners are then. I'm trying to think of who lived there when we moved in, and I cannot remember because I'm pretty sure they moved in 2015 and we got here in 2013. And I'm not sure there was anybody there, to be honest. And I was not paying attention because we had our new house and we were, enjoying it and doing things to it for, the first couple years to make it ours. And one of the things was this room. But when first my husband was like, it might be that because they have a teenage daughter that may have graduated. And he's like, well, I saw her carrying like not a piano, a keyboard, and like some stuff from her, like some girl stuff from her room, and then like a bed. And I'm like, that's weird because like usually if you are packing up your house, I would start with the big stuff, like a couch and like a dining room table. Like I would start with big stuff and put it back there, right? And then you put all the little stuff in. And I'm like, that's like starting with the bed isn't weird, but that they were bringing little tiny things out, and we were like, maybe they're just moving the daughter. Maybe she's like going to college. And I'm like, but it's March. That's a weird time to be going to campus, don't you think? And he was like, yeah, you're right. So obviously we did not sit here and stare at them. Lola, stop it, for God's sake. It's the same guy. Anyway, so then they came back and we were like trying to peek in because I did not want to revel in. They might be sad. I'm sure it's sad to move away depending where they move. It had to be close by because it did not take them long to unpack and come back. So anyway, then he was like, okay, we got sofas and tables, and I was like, they're really leaving. Like this is happening. Like, oh my God, this is happening. So, I can't tell you the relief I feel in getting and having my backyard back, because they were so. This street's really, really quiet, and all of the neighbors are quiet, and no one makes a problem. No one does anything. I mean, we've had people lose their dogs, so we're helping them, catch their dogs, and we have one family that has a kid, an older child. Not he's an adult, but he's their child. That has a wheelchair that he walks around. I don't know what I want to say it's like cystic fibrosis or something like that. Maybe muscular dystrophy. Are those similar? I'm trying to remember what it is, but I can't recall. Because I don't like to ask about that kind of, that's your business. But my dog likes to bark at the wheelchair every time they walk by. So we try to make sure she's inside. Because we're like, you can't bark at a kid in a wheelchair. That's just wrong. But I really think she's confused by the wheelchair. So anyway, those two dogs chase everybody walking down the street. Everybody walking down the street. And like I said, she lets them roam. She lets them do their business in all of our yards. And they fight outside. I don't mean like physically. They will scream at each other outside. I've heard both of them standing outside, screaming on their telephone, cursing on their telephones in their front yards, like cursing, like stuff that my mother would just clutch her pearls at. Like, oh my God, like the way you do not act in front of your neighbors. My mom was one of those people. What will the neighbors think? Regardless, this house really triggered me on my house growing up. There was a lot of similarities to what I heard and saw outside of this house that reminded me of the house I grew up in. And so it was a big trigger for me. And also what was triggering I literally mean triggering my PTSD. And another thing was their a lack of safety for their dogs. And you know that I work in dog rescue, and I was like, I'm going to watch these dogs get hit by a car, because I've seen them almost get hit by cars like so many times. So the fact that they're gone right before spring, so I'm going to get to enjoy my backyard again for the first time since 2015. I want to cry. I'm so excited. Anyway, I'm not sure that my husband understands why I'm so excited, because he has to spend a lot of time out back here. He only would see them if he was letting the dogs out and they let their dogs out at the same time. So here's the thing. We have the fence, right? So before we let our dogs out, we had to look to see, are there dogs out? We look to see if there's anybody walking or walking their dog. We make sure everything's clear before we let our dogs out. And so we would let all three of our dogs out, and then they would let their dogs out without even watching. Even when they had one dog, just open the door, she'd come out, they'd close the door behind them and not go out with her, just leave her out. So she would dart to the fence here, all along this fence here, and bark at my dogs, who would then rush the fence, and then everyone's barking and it's pandemonium. And then my dogs, because they can't reach her, would do the, what's the aggression? Redirected aggression. So then my two dogs would start to fight themselves, each other, because they couldn't fight the danger, which was her. That's what the dogs think, right? So like they would just let her, and not even paying any attention to if anybody, they wouldn't come over and get her. And she had to cross the street to do that. She crossed the street. And she would go to the bathroom we have an elderly lady that lives here. They'd go to the bathroom in her yard. She would never pick it up. And then they would chase everybody down the street, or anybody walking, biking, walking their dogs, chase down the street. Little kids, chase them down the street. I am so glad they're gone. Because now I can be out here with no violence, no yelling, no dogs rushing my fence. I can actually enjoy my backyard again. I'm so happy. We have no idea, obviously, who's moving in and what kind of people they'll be. I don't know if they're going to try to sell the place or re-rent it. I haven't seen anybody else. There was one lady over there, but we couldn't tell. She looked like a realtor maybe, but we were like, why would a realtor be there if she's not, unless like a management company owns the property maybe. We don't even know who owns it. So I'm just excited to see it empty, to be honest. And I hope that, we get someone that's quiet. Or at least if they want to be loud, they can use their own backyard. I don't know why they never use their own backyard for anything. It's just ridiculous. They have a pretty nice backyard back there. I don't know. Anyway, I'm so happy about that. That is just the giantest of weights lifted off my shoulders that they're gone. While I kind of hold my breath to see who's gonna show up next. Hopefully it's someone more aligned with the quietness of the neighborhood. So anyway, let's get started with the show, since I gave you 16 minutes of me being ridiculously happy about my neighbors leaving. Have you ever been ridiculously happy about your neighbors leaving? I obviously have. I obviously am very happy. No, adios. So, oh, I am not wearing anything knit related today because I was tired and we got a lot going on today, so I don't have a lot of time to just sit here and ramble. I didn't bother. Plus, it's 30 degrees outside, which means it's like 60 in here, and I didn't feel like wearing anything. I feel like if I had some nice sweaters to wear, I would wear those, and I don't have any yet, so I really think what I'm going to have to do is make a bunch of, I think I need to find a cardigan, because I love cardigans. I feel like I need to find a cardigan pattern that I really like and just make it in a bunch of colors and then just wear black under everything and then just have that, which might be my plan. I'm not sure. Because I'm not sure I want an actual sweater that goes over my head. Do you know what I mean? It's these sensory issues, these skin issues that I have. But I'm so much comfortable wearing something really comfortable, not around my neck, and then wearing something over that can make me warm. And then if I need to add something here, that's how I'm most comfortable. Like I don't like to wear something that just goes around my neck and just stays there and has long sleeves. I think it's the long sleeves connected to the neck. I'm not exactly sure what my problem is. I recognize that it is my problem, but I was thinking since I have all of these tops, I could just make a cardigan to wear over, and that would probably suffice enough for me. That's what I'm doing anyway, and I'm fine. So then add a shawl or a cowl or something if I wanted to. Anyway, so I have one whip. Are you guys as excited that my neighbors are gone as I am? The other day, like the next morning, I woke up and I was like a little sad, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I had something to do with them leaving. And then I'm like, I hope I did. I hope I did have something to do with them leaving, because they were awful. My only whip right now is the DK version of the cowl, which does look small. It does, but I promise you it's going to stretch. Plus it doesn't really matter. I can add more stitches and redo it later, but I'm pretty sure the size is okay. If you recognize this is from one of my Lindas. This is July, not of last year, but the year before, July 2021. This is July's dye project. This was for, this is the DK version of my pattern Linda, my shawl pattern Linda. And I had, of course, done that for the pattern itself, but I never had any intention of wearing it because this is not a color that I would ever make again. It was a color I wanted to make. It's like a mustardy golden. And it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous for what it was for Linda. So it's a color I'll never make again. And then I was like, no one's going to buy this as a shawl, but I bet if I made it a cowl, someone would snap it up because it's a real pretty color for those people that can wear gold. Not me. I'm not one of those people. But if you can wear gold, it's a very nice mustard and gold color. So this is going to get made and be auctioned off. So my own color is leaving me to say goodbye. Now this I did on 3/5, and I did 108 stitches. Now I went off the gauge of my tops because I make them in DK. My tops are made in worsted weight and DK weight. So for the DK weight, I do use a 3.5 millimeter. And I worked out the gauge much like I did for the worsted. I did the exact same gauge as I get on my tops. So yeah, 108 stitches, 3.5 millimeter. This DK is 246 yards. I do believe it was from Nitpicks. It's Nitpicks. Stroll, maybe. I don't know. It's in the Ravelry link. I just don't have here. So our full skein was 107.56, and we got 28 rows at 8,300. So I did 25 grams for the first. So we only got 28 rows. I don't remember what we got for Joel. I don't have Joel in here. I think Joel was like 26 or something, wasn't it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I think by the yardage, it's because this time this ribbing's only like 3 inches. And on the original cowl, it says to work for 4 inches, but I felt like I wanted to use the skeins, 25 for the ribbing, 50 for the body, and 25 for the other side, to really like just cut it up that way. So this will be ready next time, and I'll probably have started another one, but then I'm kind of wondering if I should start the sport one so I could have them all done, because I do have some sports to do. If I could do all of the sports, and then I wouldn't have to worry about making up the pattern, since I might just make up this, because the sport's the last one to make, so I might just make up the sport one and then leave it. Because I won't work with anything heavier than worsted, and I don't think it would work for this pattern. It would be too bulky. And then sport is the only one left before the fingering weight, so that would cover all the weights I would be doing. So I think after this I am going to do one of the sport weights, and get that last one done. So for sport, I got to see like what I did for the shorts, because I think I have gauge for the shorts, because I didn't make my sport weight top yet. So the only thing I have there are shorts. So that might do. Oh, finished item. I didn't know he put it in here. The first finished item I have for you is my bamboo pop. My bamboo pop sock. Bamboo pop sock in. This has a color. Storm Cloud. This is 100 grams, 492 yards, 55% bamboo, 37% cotton, and 8% PBT. It's my understanding the PBT is like a bit of an elastic, but I've not seen it used a lot. So here it is. Here's the hat. And then double hat. Here's what I left over. Did I not even cut? That's just how. I don't remember having any of this left over. I was kind of militant about this one. Did I not have any left over, really? That's weird. This hat's for my husband. He loves it. It's great, whatever. It's very slouchy because it has 492 yards, so it's a slouchier. This is how he wears it, like this, because he's too cool for school. And then it slouches. I like to wear them like this and then brim it. I like to brim them up. So that one's a little too brimmy for me. Double brim it. Or you can brim it and slouch it. So this is a really, if it all depends on what you like. So if you can also use more than one skein of yarn. I just like having a single skein. You could also make this out of scraps, and do your own color thing. You could do what's it? That one person that did the muscle bra, but they did like helical knitting with the to stripe it. And I wanted to try that out with my things, which I would like to do eventually when I'm feeling up to doing that. I just wasn't this time. I also have this Verbena foliage sport weight hat. This actually is the 3.5. I got it in the 3.5. I was looking at the 3.5 and I was like, you guys, okay, here's what happened. I started on the 3.75s and I was like, this is way too big. This is too holy for me. I don't like it. It's too loose. It's not working for me. So I decided to go back. Okay, so foliage 3.5, 120 stitches. Now I threw away the paper that told me, okay, here's what I do for these. First I weigh the whole cake, the whole cake. Then I do all of the increases. When I make the last row of increases, I weigh my cake again, and that tells me how much this top area cost me in yarn, basically. So then I know to work until I come to that, until I have that amount left of my yarn, so I can then close it up the same way. I did not have that, so I had to guess. And I guessed wrongly. So I have about 1.58 grams left, which this is only going to get me maybe 3 rounds, so I'm not worried about it. But it gives me something for the rest of the million of these that I have to make. I think there's 8. I think there's 8 of them. So this is the first one. This is where I stopped, where I was gonna give up, but then I got this much more out of it. I think I stopped at like 26 grams. So this one, if I brim it, is not too big of the brim. And if you just want to slouch it, I made my husband try it on. I'm like, how much slouch do you get in this, since his head's bigger than mine? And pretty good slouch. So I think it's going to be fine for any adult. So I'm going with my 3.5s, 120 stitches for that sport weight single ply that I can't wait to finish the rest of them. And then those will be donated for a silent auction for the TNR groups in my area that I love so much. So that means next, since the hats are done, I have either the green, here's the evergreen that I started on the 3.75s that I took off. But I think before I do that, I'm going to, I think I'm going to get rid of this because the 3.25 for sure is too small. So I think I might pull back, to the beginning here and do it on the 3.25s or the 3.5s. I think I might do that before I do the other one. So I'm going to restart that today because I have extra. It sucks because I'm using my Chiagu Fixed on the DK Cowl. So for these I've been using these Clover 16-inch, 3.5s. And they're okay. I find I get stabbed a lot more by the bamboo than the metal, so I bought a second fixed 3.5, so I'm waiting for that to get here. And then I'm going to cast on, because I like to cast on one needle, because I like to use 2 circulars. I love to use 2 circulars. And I love 16s, because with 16s, if you get 2 16s, you can do sleeves. You can do anything small. You can do a pinhole with these. And I hate magic loop because I never know which needle I'm on. So what I like to do when I'm using 2 is to use 2 different ones. So I will use a bamboo one and a metal one side by side. So usually the metal one is my first one. So I know if I'm starting a round, I'm starting with a metal needle. So my wood needle is my second half of my round. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Oh my God, where am I? Because you can't put a stitch marker. There's nowhere to put a stitch marker. There's no place to put it, right? Because of the ends of the needles. So where do you know where the front is? Where do you know where the front of your first round is? I make it the metal needle just because then I don't have to think about it. My brain goes, metal needle, this is the beginning of a round. So that can help you. And I don't find that especially doing, because I'll do that through the pinhole, and then after my last increase, I will go around that first round that's even, and I'll work off the bamboo, and the bamboo goes away. I have no need for it until I have to do the decreases again and again. I bring this in as the second needle. So I know, because that's the worst, trying to keep track. Not only is this a decreased round or an even round, you got to keep track of how many you're decreasing. And then you're like, am I at the beginning of the round or the second half of the round? And if you change the metal, whatever one I want to work on is the one I make the main needle. And I don't like these cords, obviously. I'd much rather have the Chagu, that cord, because it's amazing. Mine's coming, right? It's out for delivery right now. So when I get that, I'm going to start the second hat. And then I'm going to keep going with the cowls. I want to keep those going. I just don't have like the mental capacity still. I've been sleeping a whole lot, guys. Like last night, I went to sleep at like 9 o'clock at night for like an hour and a half, I think. And then I was up till 3. And then my dog woke me up at 6:30 because she had to go outside to go to the bathroom. And then she didn't want to settle back down. So I left her in the kitchen because my husband was going to be back I didn't know when, because he works out in the mornings. And I was like, I have to sleep. Like, I tried sleeping on the floor, but I couldn't. It was too cold. So I was like, I'm going back in my bed. You could sit here. And he can take care of her. It's not like a big deal. So I like texted him, Lola won't sleep. I really need to. I don't know what her problem is. So he took care of her till I got up, and she's fine. Obviously she's not fine because she has the crystals in her urine, but whatever. It is what it is. So I have not done my 30 for 30. I've not worked on the slumber shawl. I've done nothing but knit in the round. You guys, I feel like I can either decrease on a hat or do some ribbing on a cowl, and the rest is just knit in the round. And I think until I'm back, I think I'm just going to do things that I set too high expectations of myself. I know this. I'm well aware that I've done it my entire life because of my family and how I was raised, and it turned me into a perfectionist. Had to be perfect so I didn't get into any trouble. And you have to be perfect at all times, and you have to never show emotion, and you just have to be perfect all the time. Even when you have conditions that make you tick and you cannot control them how much you try. Oh, speaking of that, I think that's the end of my knitting content if you'd like to leave. I wanted to say, one of the things, you guys know I have my left side. I wonder if that's why I have like Forrest Whitaker eye, is because I have a tumor in there that might be compressing my eye. What do you think? I want to see a doctor about this. I'm going in to have I told you I'm going to have a physical with my regular doctor, and then I think after that I'm going to see someone about this. But anyway, one of the things that I decided I was going to try to see if it worked at all was a neti pot. Now you have to, mine isn't technically a neti pot because it doesn't look like a teapot, because I can't get my wrist and my nose in the right alignment. Mine is a tube that has a thing that you press and it forces the water out, because the nose thing comes out of the bottom to a tube that you press. So I started using that. And I don't think I used it Monday, but because I had my throat thing, but I did use it Wednesday and Thursday last week. And then I used it Monday this week. So then today is, I was reading, to start with, if you do it 3 times a week, you should see, that should be enough. You should see a difference. And then if you have to do more, you do more. And I have really been noticing a lack of the postnasal drip. I have noticed a lack of just mucus. Okay, like when I blow my nose in the morning, there's like nothing there. And usually I'm blowing my nose and blowing my nose and blowing my nose, and I'm coughing and I'm trying to get stuff out of my throat. None of that's happening. I feel like because I actually wanted to do it before I did this show, but sometimes it gives me a headache for a little bit while it fills up your sinuses and you get a little pressure headache. That goes away. But I have noticed that my breathing feels clearer and drier, but not in a dry sense. Not like, oh my God, my sinuses feel so dry. Just that I don't think I realized how wet they were to begin with. I've not been hacking up. I'm feeling a little bit in my throat right now. I'm not sure where that came from. It might be because it's time for me to do it again. Or maybe because I've been talking a lot. I'm not sure. But I decided I'm going to keep doing the 3 times a week. Now, you have to be careful with what water you use, because you don't want to introduce flesh-eating bacteria up into your brain, because that's a thing that can actually happen. So look that up. I believe it's distilled water. I use distilled water. And a saline packet. You can buy premixed saline packets for these. I do 8 ounces in each nostril. I do 8 ounces, and then I refill with another packet and do the other side. Other than the initial discomfort of like when your sinus is filling up and you've got all this water coming out of your nose, it's not the most pleasant experience. And you might want to watch some YouTubes, because they will tell you how to position your body so it doesn't come out your mouth. I have found the biggest thing is to breathe through your mouth while you're doing it. Helps me the most. And to push forward and then go at an angle. And usually I have no problem, because I don't like it coming out of my... There's no problem if it comes out of your mouth, I don't think, but I did not like it. So that has really helped me. So I had only done it a few times, like when I had a cold, and I have a steamer, like a facial steamer that I would sit in front of too, to like break up the congestion and stuff like that. But I've only done this 4 times, and I'm already seeing a huge difference, especially in my sleeping. When I go to sleep, there's no like, I'm not coughing or anything. It's 2 thumbs up from me if you struggle with any of that stuff. It's not expensive to try out either. Another thing, Bindi Irwin, has everyone seen that she came out on her Instagram the other day about having surgery for endometriosis. And one of the things that I forgot to tell you about my post-op was that I too had endometriosis. And my doctor, she gave me pictures of it. She said it was on everything she took out. Everything she took out was covered in it. My uterus, my fallopian tubes, my cervix was just covered in it. And she said my ovaries were fine. My ovaries were not touched. My ovaries are perfectly fine. She's not worried about my ovaries. They look perfectly healthy, other than that they like to make cysts. Which is just, that plushie, the gallbladder that's like, here, I made these and they're gallstones. I want an ovary that just has cysts and goes, here, I made these. Like, I want that so bad. Something is living on our deck. And I think I'm hearing, I think it's a raccoon. I think I'm hearing it. We did have the other ones, an opossum living under our deck for the longest time, and I absolutely loved it. Because those things, their body temp is too low to carry rabies, and they eat like ticks and lice and fleas and all that crap you don't want. I think that's what ate the bees, maybe. When we had those bees. Or skunks, maybe. I think skunks eat those too. We have had skunks. We have had skunks. The dogs have been sprayed by skunks. The big one's not the little one, because she doesn't go outside without me. Anyway, my point was that Bindi Irwin saying that she had 10 years in pain before anyone took her seriously. Same. Literally, my pain started really close to my 35th birthday. I remember turning 35 and going, oh my God. It was just like a brick wall hit me. I was fine, and then one day I was not. Everything was awful. And I got really, really bloated. And the doctor's like, oh, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, something's happening to me. And no one would believe me. And so even my doctor, my surgeon, I don't think she was, I think that she thought I was overreacting to my pain. Like I was overstating how much pain I was in, especially when they wanted to do the biopsy that I was so afraid of and that I finally made her numb me up for. And so when she told my husband she had found, because I did not see her the day after of my surgery because I was still out. They let me sleep more, I think, to wear off more of the stuff. So anyway, when I went to see her last week, she said, I was asking her where she found the endometriosis. She said it was all over everything she took out. It was covered, and then there were a few spots that she had to either burn off or cut out. She said she cut them if she could, or she burned them if she could. I don't remember which one, but she said she didn't see any left over, so I should not have any. And she said, you were in a lot of pain, and I'm like, yeah, duh. You were in a lot of pain. Yes, I know. I'm well aware of how much pain. It's just ridiculous that because they can't see it on any imaging, but then as soon as they get in there and they see it and they're like, oh my God, we have to do better. There has to be some way to test for that isn't just having surgery. We have to come up with something. Because I think they're saying 1 in 10 women have it. And I think those numbers are low. And I think especially with how, I think it's low because women are ignored, and it takes us a decade for diagnosis. And the only way you get the diagnosis is if they actually have to go in and get it. And how do you know you can afford to go in and what if they don't find anything, then what? Like, we need better imaging for women, because I think it's just going to be, I think we're just going to have more and more cases. So I want to, I know it's hard to be your own advocate, but if you are in pain and you know that something is wrong, that it's not just normal period cramps or whatever, please keep going. Keep looking for doctors. I was just on a thing that says, if you look for doctors that will, because there's a push right now. There's a push right now in the U.S. If you want to be sterilized, there is a list. This is how I found my doctor. She was on a list of people, of doctors, surgeons, that will sterilize you with no requirements. Like, when I was trying to be sterilized 25 years ago, when I was 20, they wouldn't, because I was unmarried. I didn't have any kids. And I'll change my mind one day. And I was like, I don't think you understand the phobia I have of becoming pregnant. And not every woman or uterus bearing person wants to be a mother, especially, I think, if you are trans and you don't want to be pregnant. That does not fit into your thing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying being a parent. I'm saying being pregnant, because those are two very separate things. And the fact that we don't have an exception for mentally ill women being forced into, I can't think of anything worse than being mentally ill and being forced into a pregnancy. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No. What hell that must be for that gestation. I can't even imagine it. And I'm like, you guys, I have so many problems already at 20. I cannot, that are not fixable. I cannot bring a child. I cannot care for a child. I can't care for myself. How am I supposed to bring myself through a pregnancy? I can't. So I wish I had this list 25 years ago, because I would have done it. Luckily, I was able to have a hysterectomy finally 25 years later. So there are, if you look up, I can't remember what, if I can figure out what organization it is that put out a list, but it is I'm not sure if it was just the U.S. It had a whole list of people that were willing to do sterilizations, tubal ligations in some cases, without you needing to meet a criteria. That just being a woman and saying, I don't want to be pregnant, is enough. I think especially with what's happening in this country and how we're under attack right now. With that being said, I also wanted to say, have you heard about this court case in Texas where these 5 women are suing the government? They're taking on the Texas legislature or the governor. I don't know who they're taking on specifically. They're taking on the state of Texas, because all 5 of them were denied life-saving abortion care, and that may have impacted their future fertility, which is rage-inducing. I don't have another word for it. Rage-inducing. And I was listening to one of the things, and they're like, these legislators don't know enough about what they're trying to legislate. And I'm like, yes, exactly. So I'm being surprised by the women in some of these states like Kansas. Kansas women came out, well, and men. The people of Kansas came out and said, you're not forcing pregnancies on us. And now the women of Texas, who I always thought to be the most conservative, not my favorite kind of people, the kind of judgy women, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, but I think there's enough younger women in there, like, that I think it's... Texas used to be a force. They had a governor. Is it Ann Richards? Is that her name? Yeah, Ann Richards, former governor of Texas. Dorothy Ann Richards. It was in the 90s, right? Okay. 45th governor of Texas from 1991 to 1995. I'm going to show you her picture and see if you remember this lady on your TVs. She was a force in Texas. She was one of, along that time, her and Hillary were on my radar, and I was like, what is that? It was early 90s. It was not a time for strong women in government. And I feel like if the younger kids could have seen that, like we saw it and didn't do anything with it. I saw it and took for granted that was how we were going to go. We were just going to go that way. So much wasted potential and time. Like you could have taken that. That is the Texas that I remember. So I'm like, why are these women in Texas just taking it? What's happening, you guys? So I'm very excited to watch this court case continue. I'm also excited. Have you been seeing the stuff coming out of this Dominion lawsuit? It's like the Alex Jones trial that just keep giving and giving and giving. Like, oh, you sent these. What's the Alex Jones? They gave the defense a bunch of work product they weren't supposed to have. And then he doesn't even believe the court has any jurisdiction over him, so he just doesn't show up and gets a default judgment. I feel like these Alex Jones things, like, now we have Dominion, all of these depositions coming out. I'm like, holy crap. It's been fantastic. So I am loving it. Also, last thing, and the Mandalorian's back, if you didn't know. Anyway, I gotta get out of here because we've got so much to do. And I've been talking for over an hour. And I hate editing. So do these glasses bother you? Were you bothered by the line? I hope you weren't even able to notice, because it was actually easier for me to read stuff. So I think I have to give in and probably buy another pair of bifocals. It's funny because when I first got glasses in second or fourth grade, it was one of those. They first gave me bifocals and I couldn't. I was like, and my mom was like, yeah, she is having trouble with these. But literally, I think I've had these since Thanksgiving, and am just now able to wear them and not be like, I can't see the line right now. I'm so excited. I'm gonna order some new ones. I'm gonna order some. I think I might order my sunglasses too, so we can sit outside and do some stuff. Anyway, I remember the eye doctor going, well, where do you hold your knitting? Because I was like, I need it specifically for knitting. And so I did this, because I held them right here. And it is perfect right here. Perfect. So I could just have, because I still have my single visions that I could wear if I didn't need to have the bifocals. But they're cheap enough on Zenny to that I can have a few pairs. So I think I'm gonna get these in black too. I don't mind the red. I don't think you can really tell. You can tell right here when the sun hits it. I like my black glasses. I might get them this in every. I might get this frame in every color it comes in. I think it comes in a what do you call like the Lisa Loeb one, like the where they're brown and they're yellow and they're tortoiseshell. I'm surprised my brain even came up with that. Tortoiseshell, I like those too. I don't really mind as long as I have a black pair when I have to be my goth self. And God, if I can match them to my outfits, we're in trouble. Anyway, it's time to go. Do you love Pedro Pascal? Can't stand it. Oh my God, he's so funny. Anyway, okay, I'm leaving. Goodbye. I'll see you next week. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.